Now, as we enter the uh, second quarter, or we can say the midterm part of our studying in philosophy, we will go now to the importance of philosophy. Why philosophy is very important nowadays, especially in this time that you enter the seminary, you want to be a priest while we are still studying philosophy. But before that, we will go to the first topic in lesson 3, which entitled The Charge of Utility. One of the first challenges faced in the study of philosophy, particularly in the philosophy of the human person, is what many call the charge of futility. This is the common belief that philosophy is useless, the philosophy is impractical or irrelevant in everyday life. Unlike science rather, as I asked you last time, what is the difference of science and philosophy, or scientists and philosophers? Unlike in science, which builds machines, cures diseases, and improves material conditions, or mathematics, which provides precise and definite answers, philosophy seems to deal only with abstract questions. What is it? What is truth? What is justice? What is the meaning of life? Who am I as a person? Since these questions do not produce immediate and tangible results, some people may conclude that philosophy is a waste of time. Really, other people looking at this philosophy as a waste of time. Anahin ko tong philosophy na to. Magagamit ko pa tong philosophy na to? Anong pake ko sa philosophy na to? This conclusion from some people arises because philosophy does not offer quick or final answer. Bakit ba natin i-philosophize or pag-aralan ng philosophy? Hindi naman pala siya nagbibigay ng mabilisan o sapat na sagot. Because philosophical inquiry often leads to more questions, encouraging debate and reflection rather than resolution. That's philosophy. It's an inquiry. It is an inquiry in a world that values efficiency, values productivity, values practicality. Philosophy is often dismissed as irrelevant. People may ask, no? Why spend time thinking about human existence, freedom, or even immorality, when these do not put food on the table or build new technology? The charge of utility thus reflects a misunderstanding of what philosophy truly contributes to human life. In response to this criticism, some philosophers argue that philosophy, while not always materially practical, but serves a deeper and more essential purpose. First, philosophy develops critical and logical thinking. Philosophy trains the mind to analyze, to question assumptions, and to seek truth beyond appearances. In an age of misinformation and shallow opinions, this skill is not, what you call this one, is not only useful, but it is necessary. Then philosophy deepens our self-understanding. Paulit-ulit na lang. Lagi ko sinasabi na ang philosophy ay dinedevelop ang critical and logical thinking natin. Ngayon, nandito na naman. Philosophy, pinapailalim ang ating pansariling pagkakaintindi. Halimbawa, sa philosophy of the human person, to be specific, no? It helps us reflect on our dignity. It helps us to reflect on our freedom, to reflect on our responsibility as human beings. These are not luxuries, but the foundations of how we live and relate with others. Philosophy also guides moral action. By clarifying values and ethical principles, it helps individuals make sound decisions in situations where rules or laws alone are not enough. Philosophy does not only ask, what is the good life? But also encourages us to live it. Hindi ka lang magtatanong kung ano yung mabuting buhay. Pero paano mo isasabuhay? Paano ka sa buhay na iyon? No? And philosophy provides meaning and direction. Human beings are not merely material creatures. We also long for purpose. We also long for meaning, for understanding, even for wisdom. Philosophy may not build machines, but it builds also persons who can live wisely, who can live humanely. You need always to remember that the charge of utility is not a weakness of philosophy, but an invitation to discover its real value. It may not always give ready-made or immediate results, but philosophy equips us with the intellectual and moral tools to navigate life meaningfully. Far from being useless, philosophy is a lifelong guide that helps us understanding to ourselves, to help us how to respect others and pursue truth in the midst of a complex world. That is the charge of utility. Now we will go to the question of what is the value of doing philosophy. Because many people often ask that, what is the use of philosophy? Bakit pa may philosophy? What are the reasons behind the perception that the philosophy is a futile activity? At first, it may seem like philosophy is just about asking difficult questions that 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 don't have that don't have clear answers. Unlike science, no? Or even math. Puro na lang tayo science. Kahit math, it doesn't always give us formulas or invention that we can use right away. But if we will look more closely to it, philosophy has a very important value in our lives. First, philosophy helps us think better. Why? Because it teaches us to ask questions, to look at the ideas carefully, not to just accept things without understanding them. For example, when we read something online, especially now, that many fake news, many anomalies in social media, in the news, philosophy trains us to ask if, is this true? Why should I believe this? What are the reasons to support it? This kind of thinking help us to avoid being easily fooled and allows us to make wiser choices in life. No? It helps us also to know ourselves more deeply. Sometimes we reflect on questions like this. Who am I? What makes me a valuable person? What else? What is my purpose in life? This question may not have simple answers, but thinking about them helps us discover our strengths, our weaknesses, and even our responsibilities. Why? Because philosophy teaches us also how to see the right and wrong. We all know that we face many situations every day where we need to make choices. Rules, laws, these can guide us. But they do not always cover every situation. This philosophy help us also to reflect on our actions. It will delve on this question, is this fair? Is this good for others? Is this the right thing to do even if it is difficult? In this way, philosophy shapes our conscience and helps us more responsible and moral persons. Why? Because philosophy can broaden our view of the world. Because when we do philosophy, we learn to listen. We learn to listen to different ideas. We learn how to respect other opinions. And we can see life from many perspectives. This makes us more open-minded and more understanding toward other people. It will remind us also that life is not only about money or success, but also about truth, about love, about justice and wisdom. You know, the value of doing philosophy is not only about finding a quick answers, an easy answers, to develop already an ideas, but about learning how to live well. It gives us the instruments or tools to think clearly, to know ourselves deeper, to act responsibly, and to understand others also. Philosophy makes us better thinkers, but more importantly, it helps us become better human beings. As I said a while ago, that philosophy, sometimes people think it is useless or too difficult. Because of this, philosophy is often accused of impracticality. This is very important word in philosophy. The word impracticality. It may seem like a waste of time to ask questions such as, who am I? Or what is the meaning of life? Since this cannot be solved immediately, yet this impracticality is also what makes philosophy valuable. It is not only about producing material things, but about guiding people to live wisely, to live responsibly, to live meaningfully. Another common observation is the indefiniteness of philosophy. Again, this indefiniteness philosophy, when we ask scientific questions, just as what is the boiling point of water or what is causes earthquakes, we can find clear and measurable answers. But when we ask philosophical questions, what is happiness? What is justice? Is there life after death? There are many possible answers depending on how what to call this one, depending on how one reasons. This openness shows that philosophy is not about memorizing. It's not about memorizing fixed truths, but about searching for deeper understanding. But this is very different from scientific questions, which are based on experiments, on observations, and on proofs. Science asks how things happen, while philosophy often asks why things matter. For example, science can explain how life begins biologically, but philosophy asks why life is valuable. Both are important, yes, and together they complete human knowledge. Philosophy also connects with Christian theology. That's why we are studying philosophy, because it reflects on God, on faith and divine truth. While theology is based on faith and revelation, philosophy uses reason to support and to explain questions about God, about morality, about human purpose. Both of these work together in helping us understand the meaning of life from the perspective of both reason and faith. In fact, philosophy provides the foundations of science. Before there were separation of science, all study of nature was called natural philosophy. It was philosophy that asked, what is knowledge? How can we be sure something is true? What makes a study scientific? These questions give rise to the methods and logic that scientists still use today. Philosophy also relates to modern fields like computer science. Beyond building machines, computer raise ethical and human questions. Should artificial intelligence replace human workers? How do we protect privacy in the digital age? What are the risks of surveillance technology? These are not just technical, but also philosophical issues. Similarly, bioethics is a branch of philosophy that deals with moral problems in medicine and biology. Questions about abortion, euthanasia, genetic engineering, organ donation, or cloning are not solved by science alone. They require moral reflection on what respects or harms human dignity. Philosophy is also essential in social and political life. That's why we have social philosophy or the political philosophy that we reflect on justice, on freedom, on rights, and the best way to govern society. It asks questions such as what makes a government fair? Should freedom be unlimited? How do we balance equality and responsibility? This reflection shape laws and systems that affect everyone's life. But why do people ask philosophical questions in the first place? Because it begins with a sense of wonder. Human beings naturally ask questions when they are amazed by life, the world, and existence itself. Children, for example, are naturally curious when they ask, why is the sky blue? Why do people die? This sense of wonder never disappears. It is the starting point of all philosophy. Even mathematics has philosophical foundations. We often think of numbers as certain and exact, but philosophers have asked, do numbers exist only in our minds? Or are they real? Why is mathematics so exact? thinkers like Pythagoras, Plato, and Aristotle studied the meaning of numbers and logic. That's why we have Pythagoras' theorem, which shaped the certainty of mathematics we rely on today. And one of the most important contributions in philosophy comes from Aristotle's four causes. He explained that to fully understand anything, we must know four aspects. What are they? First, the material cause, the formal cause, the final cause, and the efficient cause. What is the material cost? What is made of? For example, this tumbler. What it is made of? This tumbler is made of, we can say, aluminum, a metal. The formal cause, its shape or design. What makes this metal into a tumbler and not a glass? The final cause, its purpose. It is for drinking, to hold liquid, anything liquid. And the efficient cause, the one who made it. Who made this one? Maybe machine, maybe a person. Another thing. What more? For example, a chair. The material cause of a chair is made of wood, because it is made of wood. And the formal cause is its shape or design. Is that what makes the wood into a chair and not a table? Because the purpose of the final cause is because the chair is for sitting. That is the purpose or the final cause. And the efficient cause is the one who made it. Who made it is the carpenter. The carpenter is the one who built it. This framework is still useful today, not only in understanding objects, but also in understanding human actions, even choices and purpose. The true value of philosophy is not in giving us things to use, but in shaping us to become thoughtful, responsible, and fully human. And we just stop to that. And I just want you to reflect on those discussions. And now for those who didn't take their exam in my subject, you may ask Brother Romnick for the PowerPoint presentation. It's 10 minutes each number. The whole yellow paper must be answered every number. Halimbawa, sa harap ng yellow paper, punuin mo yon ng hinihinging sagot ng number 1. So, kailangan ko ng 5 pages ng papel. Okay?